Pew, 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 pew. This is the space probe. When they made this microphone, shoot, I don't know, 50 years ago or so, they were just out to get you. I know we're going to end up doing 10 layers of background vocals. Then I'll just really quickly grab 10 whatever mics I have. And one of them might be this, and one of them might be this, and one of them might be this, and one of them might be this. Tap dancing. It's just something weird and fun to do, or tape to the drummer's head. You ever seen a video of your favorite artist, or just any artist in the studio? How often is the microphone set like this? Most of the time? Do you know why that is? There are two reasons. No, there are three reasons for that. Okay. One is that if it's actually legitimately a tube mic, then you do this because the tube gets hot, unlike in other microphones it doesn't, but the tube legitimately gets hot. And if I do this, then the tube gets hot, and what happens to heat? Heat rises, it goes up like this, and it starts to warp the diaphragm. Okay. Or at the very least change the frequency response of the diaphragm so it can actually change over the course of your session, okay? And so the heat rising changes the diaphragm, can warp the diaphragm, is not good for the diaphragm, so it's good to do this, especially anytime you have a tube mic, so that the heat rises and it doesn't affect the diaphragm. There are two more reasons. One is whether or not I have a tube microphone. Generally, this gives me more room. This isn't up in my business and in my face as much. If I do this, right? If I do this, it's just airier and lighter. It's better feng shui, right? But there's a third and most important reason to do this. And that is, if you are a musician of any type, that you know that you sing and play better when you sound better and when you feel cool, okay? And you feel like a rock star. And so, whether or not you have a tube mic or not, I always do this to a vocalist. I always put the pop screen on, I always make things look really nice. I try to set things up as cool as possible, and you do this so that they feel like they're on MTV and they're a rock star, whether they're just your buddy in a mix and edit suite or not. They feel cooler, they feel hipper, and they're going to perform better because they're more inspired, because that's how they think it's supposed to be done, than if you do this. And that is absolutely 100% true. The psychology of that stuff is no joke, okay? We all sing and perform and play better when those things are going on in our brain, okay? So do this to spoil the people that you're working with and to make them feel like they're $1 million, okay? That whether you spend $200 on an NT1, the Rode NT1, like I talked about last week, or $100, or if they happen to be at GearFest, $57 for an SM57, or $10,000 on a C12, or on a U49 or U47, or $5,000 on a U87. There is no best microphone, okay? There is what matches the voice that you're doing with the song that you're doing at the time, okay? Once you remove, the one thing that you kind of need to think about is just noise. You don't want a noisy microphone that you can't get rid of. Now, sometimes a noisy microphone is cool and it adds to the vibe of this lo-fi thing you're doing or whatever, fine. But other than that, honestly, from my standpoint, from the standpoint of a lot of people, you need the best microphone for the voice, for the song that you're doing at the time. And there's nothing that says the $10,000 microphone is going to sound better than for that particular voice on that particular sound than a $200 microphone or a $500 microphone or a $1,000 microphone or anything else, right? I am a huge advocate of experiment, particularly if you're buying a microphone for yourself, if you are a singer, rapper, whatever, then don't get on a bunch of forums and say, listen, I spend more time on forums than anybody, I promise you. But don't get on a forum and say, hey, what's the best vocal? That is a stupid question, okay? It just is. I hate to read those, and they just happen year after year after year after year after year after page, and people just ask that question, hey, what's the best vocal mic? And that is a ridiculous question because it's always based on who the singer is, what song they happen to be singing at the time, what vibe you're going for, what else is happening instrumentation-wise, what the rest of your setup is, what your room is, and all of those things. And there's everybody's ears different, and it also depends on who's going to mix it because they're going to mix it different, so how they approach mixing, and so there's no such thing, right, as the best microphone. There just isn't. There isn't, and you can't convince me otherwise, okay? There's what's the best microphone for that vocalist for that song at the time, based on how the vocalist is feeling, based on how the engineer is feeling, and how the producer is feeling, and how the engineer is going to mix it later on down the road. Okay? So if you're buying a microphone for a studio, then yes, you want something going to be universal, but if you're buying a microphone for yourself, then just try a bunch of things. Try as many things as you can and see what inspires you and what feels like your voice and what you want your voice to sound like. Okay? Okay, yeah.